were right in criticizing it openly at the time.
Hmm. Uh, do you remember any other world events in your lifetime? Do you remember them as vividly as 9/11? Or where were you when those events happened, if any?
Really only one, and I think for most people of my generation, it was when the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up. I remember that because it was a snow day, and I was watching television over at my girlfriend's house, which I wasn't supposed to be doing. But I don't even know if Grandma knows about that to this day. But yeah, we saw it blow up, and I'll never forget that. And I remember that day like it happened maybe a few months ago. This COVID thing is probably going to yield some memories similar to that, to be honest with you. Although there's not been that one inciting event in quite the same way, but this has been an unusual experience too.
Hmm. Okay. Do you think the coronavirus pandemic will be remembered in the same way as 9/11 or other events you experienced?
I think it has proven to be as disillusioning in terms of, and I don't feel like everybody has been together on this since maybe April. And that has been sad. And part of that might be because we are in a presidential election year, whereas in 2001 we weren't. It took a few years, but I don't know. I think that one inciting event, it's difficult. It's like apples and oranges comparing something that drags out over several months versus something that has this explosive quality to it, where it's like, wow, I cannot believe what I just saw. What in the world's going on? There's no doubt in my mind, though, that we'll never forget the year 2020 because of how unusual life got to be all of a sudden.
Okay. Did you know anyone that happened to be like around the area of the day of the attacks?
No, I mean, I one of my best friends in PhD school is from Harrington Park, New Jersey, which is right across the river from the Bronx. But he was not in New York at that time, and I did not know of anyone else who was there. So, I think that did give me a somewhat different experience. But like I said, most people, and this was unusual. I mean, most of my life, people from our part of the world have resented New Yorkers for various reasons. They can be a little bit full of themselves. But for that week, we all were New Yorkers, and we felt that pain.
How big of an impact do you think 9/11 had on the world, and do you think it still has like the same impact?
It was huge. Obviously, it affected foreign policy decisions for the next decade. We're still fighting wars in Afghanistan as a result of decisions made. We still have far more troops overseas in the Middle East than we did before then. When you go to the airport today, it's a completely different experience than what it was on September 10th or September 11th. 2001, and it will never be like it used to be. People used to be able to walk with you to the gate and see you off. They can't do that anymore. They haven't been able to do that since. They'll never be able to do that again. um, it's a lot of things, large and small. It'll always be with us. And I hate to say this because it sounds, I don't know, defeatist or pessimistic, but I don't feel like our country's ever been the same since. It hasn't felt like the same place to me.
Okay. Last question is, if you had to like explain to someone what 9/11 was, like they didn't know about it, like how would you explain it briefly?
Hmm. I really don't know about that. I suppose I would probably resort to some sort of, devastating analogy, like you come home and your house is burned down or something, although I'm sure that's quite different, but it psychologically, it did feel like that kind of shock and devastation, just to think that we could be attacked so brazenly
Mhm.
by a bunch of terrorists, merely because they resent us and our way of life. And I've never quite gotten over that. So, I would probably say just imagine something just horrible happening to you out of the blue. It was kind of like that, but it was nationwide.
Mhm. Okay, that's about all for all my questions. Thank you for, doing this because you didn't really have to, but
Oh, you're welcome. Hey, you're a good interviewer.
thank you.
You did a good job, man. So I tell you what I'm
Mhm.
going to do. I'm going to hit stop record, and then I'm going to try to get this into a workable file, and I'll send it to your mom through her email address, and hopefully you can get it loaded up.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Take care, man.
All right, see you.